Welcome everybody. We are back with another deck video, this time Agents of the Black Sun. One of my favorite objectives that I later found out is broken.
Yeah, it's broken.
It's like, oh, my favorite thing is broken. That's why I'm so good at it.
That's why everybody has fun with it.
But we're going to talk about Agents of the Black Sun here today and kind of a meta build. I think maybe Reflections 2 might be coming up soon in the Retro League, so I'm not sure this would be banned.
Yeah, so Reflections 2 coming up in the Retro League in maybe a month or two of when we record this video. But Watch Your Step and Agents of the Black Sun are both banned in that format, just because those two objectives are just so stupidly broken. And we're going to explain why. So Agents of the Black Sun, that's this deck. You can start deploy Imperial City, which is this 1-0 Coruscant site, and Coruscant System, which is this 2-0 system here. That's it. That's all you start with. For the remainder of and you deploy Prince Xizor at the Imperial City. So you start with him in play, which is great. For the remainder of the game, your aliens with Black Sun in lore, bounty hunters, and information brokers. Why information brokers? Who knows? Are Black Sun agents. You cannot deploy cards with ability except Black Sun agents, the Emperor, or the independent starships. And then during your control phase, each of your bounty hunters can make a regular move to an adjacent site where there is a bounty that just never comes up because every card that has the word bounty in it is god awful. Scanning crew cannot be played because that would just be the most absolutely ridiculous deck if you could just play like 10 scanning crews in this deck. Flip this card if Xizor is at a battleground site and Luke is not at a battleground site. And then on the back side, the 7 side, this is where it's just kind of dumb. While this side up, once per turn, you can place a hand place a card from hand on your use pile to peek at the cards in your force pile. You don't reshuffle them, so you just know what the order of your force pile is. So then you see you use like the Emperor to pull out a Force Lightning every turn, and then you can just put the Force Lightning back to cycle. You can track that 5 then, which is the Force Lightning. And then you also just know all the cards in your force pile. So you're like, oh, I only want to spend 7 force because I want to draw, my lateral damage or something. And then once during each of your battle phases, you can peek at the top X cards of your reserve deck, where X equals the number of locations you occupy. So that way, like if you have Dengar with Blaster Carbine, who's going to fire twice in a battle, and your top card's a 2, and the next card down's a 5, target the character that has 2 ability first, and then target the character that has 4 ability. So you always hit. And then for each Black Sun agent in a battle, attrition against opponent is +1. So except for the Emperor, all of your characters are Black Sun agents. So for each character, basically you have in a battle, your attrition is +1, which is basically almost the same thing that Routier Operations was, right? For every Routier site, your battle destiny was +1. This one's attrition, but it's basically the same thing. So you're taking the best part of Routier Operations and throwing it on here as well. And then during your control phase, opponent loses 1 force for each battleground location you occupy with Xizor or the Emperor. So you're just going to be making them take direct damage. And then flip this card if Luke is at a battleground site or if Xizor is not on table. So there's lots of ways to protect Prince Xizor and lots of ways to kill Luke. So yeah, you start with this guy, which basically the game text on it doesn't matter. If you have a general there, you can't even play generals, and then you've got this thing. Of course not. And then you're going to start with your usual prepared defenses, which lets you get 3 effects. You're going to start with Imperial Rest Order, Mobilization Points, and then your 3rd effect is really up to you. You could start Crush the Rebellion. That's always a safe one. Secret Plans is okay, not that great. Sometimes you might want to start Battle Order, but generally you're probably going to go with Crush Imperial Restored or Mobilization Points. Your basic game plan is turn 1, you're going to pull out Coruscant Docking Bay, or before you activate, you pull out Caught, and you pull out Coruscant Docking Bay. You'll move Prince Xizor there, and then you're going to be activating a lot. You're only giving away 1 Force icon total. So basically, the overall strategist deck is it's a Force Choke, Force Denial deck that lets you manipulate your entire Force pile every turn, so that you always have the cards you need, and then your opponent just can't really do anything. And if they do, you just come down and kill them. But yeah, you pull out your docking bays, and then the name of the game is Protect Prince Xizor. So you have Guri, who can do that. So when present with Xizor, he cannot be targeted by weapons. And while Vader is not here, which you can't even play Vader in this deck, the opponent may not draw more than 1 Battle Destiny. She's immune to purchase, restraining bolt, and immune to attrition less than 5. And then Prince Xizor is going to be immune to attrition less than 5 because Vader is not there as well. So if your opponent can't draw more than 1 Battle Destiny, it's going to be a little bit hard to, kill them, because they would have to target Guri, who has armor of 5, and then they can't target Prince Xizor, and they're probably not going to get there on their Battle Destiny. And you have other ways of, doing stuff to reduce attrition against you, like main course. You also have Vigos. They deploy free to Coruscant, so all but the Death Star, you deploy them to the Coruscant docking bay for free, and then you can move them. It adds 2 to power of any thing he pilots. But while he's at a non-Coruscant battleground site and Vengeance of the Dark Prince is on the table, which is the flip side of Agents of the Black Sun, your Force Drain is +1 here. It's not cumulative, so you can't have 2 of them, but it makes your docking bay, your Death Star docking bay, a drain of 2. And then he's forfeit +2 when present with Xizor or another Vigo. So ideally, you want to get a Vigo, a Prince Xizor, and a Guri down. They can't target him, and then he can soak up 6 forfeit. So yeah, it's really hard to kill Prince Xizor in this deck. But basically, other than that, you play 6 copies of the Emperor, because you want to get him down as soon as possible, because he's the other card that lets you start pinging with Agents of the Black Sun on the flip side. But he also pulls out a Force Lightning every turn. So he's fully immune to attrition. So then you can recycle the Force Lightning every turn to look at your Force pile, and you start doing tracking things. Other than that, your character selection is you get 2 Forlom with Gun, because he's great with Zuckuss and Mist Hunter. Adding 2 Battle Destiny, he can also just shoot things to blank their text. You have 1 Boba Fett. You do have 1 Boba Fett in ship, so sometimes you have to plan it a little bit more carefully, like where you want to play Boba Fett. If they're more space, you probably want the spaceship one. If they're more ground, you might need the Boba Fett one. You have 2 copies of Dengar, because this guy's just a beast in this deck. He gets to fire twice, and since you can look at the top cards of your reserve deck, you'll always know what you're going to draw for your weapon destiny, so that you can just shoot. And then he just dies, and then you can play him again later. We went over Guri, IG-88. He can target things, so similar like Dengar, you look at the top cards of your reserve deck, and then you can choose which character to capture. I recommend capturing Luke, because this will stay flipped permanently, because Luke is not at a battleground site. He's inactive. So as long as they can't kill Xizor, you'll always be flipped. You have Snoova. He deploys -3 to same site as any smuggler or bounty. So some of your characters are smugglers, but things like Chewie Protector is a smuggler. Han with Heavy Blaster is a smuggler. So he only deploys for 2, and he's power 6, armor 4. And then during your deploy phase, you can deploy a Vibro Axe for free on him from reserve deck. So he goes and gets his own weapon. And then when he excludes a target with Vibro Axe, he can capture it instead. Vibro Axe, you're going to deploy it for free, so you don't have to spend 3 force. It adds 1 to his power, so now he's power 7. And you can target a character using 1 force. Both players draw Destiny. Target is immediately excluded, which then Snoova lets you capture him. If if your character's power plus destiny is greater than opponent's power plus opponent's destiny, you have really high destiny in this deck. Like, you're probably going to draw a 5, a 5 or a 6, to be honest with you, by the time you're battling this. So they need to have like power 14. He's just going to capture basically any character he comes down against. And then you got a couple Vigos to protect and also give extra.
Remind me the rules with capturing. You can only capture one person. Like, you only have one captive per character.
Each character can only have one captive, but so like Snoova could capture a character, and then you can choose any other warrior that's present to escort. So everybody except the Emperor could then escort a captive. So Snoova can just like start taking all of their characters. Then this is a force denial deck. So things that work in force denial: Bad Feeling Have I. So not great against Prophet, but you're probably pretty good against Prophet anyway. But Bad Feeling Have I, all of their mains now cost an additional +2. You also end up with Broken Concentration. So every turn you can spend 2 force to put a card from their force pile back on top of their deck. So it gets around things like Rebel Barrier. Also force chokes them. Blast Door Controls also cancels Rebel Barrier, because you want to be able to play your characters and battle immediately, shoot things with, Boba Fett, Dengar, Ig, or Snoova, basically. Draw multiple battle destinies. You're adding pluses. Like, this is a very battling deck if your opponent's ever able to deploy characters. So you got your typical battling effects like First Strike and Lateral Damage to do extra, to go big. No Escape is in there to protect against Honor of the Jedi, because the ping damage from Agents of the Black Sun would get affected by Honor of the Jedi. Plus, No Escape is just really good. It lets you recycle any of your characters or ships that you need by, retrieving them off the top of your reserve deck when you deploy it. You have a couple Presence of the Force. One, so that you could either, if you're going up against like a Throne Room mains deck, you could just come down and, to some site that they're at and battle, or it gives you a battleground that you can then drain at, and it adds with Vigo. So you could put like Presence of the Force on a docking bay, and then put another Presence of the Force on their war room or something. Now it's a battleground. Now you've got a drain of 4 going at their battleground that you can just deploy to. Set for stun, control combo. You almost never use this for the control part. You just want to use it for set for stun, so you can bounce one of their characters that then they have to spend a bunch of force to redeploy. And then you do it like in the middle of the battle, and just blow them out. Evader Monnok, you can pull Evader off of Crush the Rebellion, and then you use Monnok to control their hand size to make sure that they stay below 12 cards. If you need Evader, you can use it on the anti-revolution stuff, but mostly you're just using it as a Monnok. You can also just pull it every single turn and then put it back with your objective to look at your force pile, which is always really good. 2 Force Lightnings. 1, sometimes you just need to use a Force Lightning, but 2, you can cycle it. A Ghhhk, and those rebels won't escape us, can cancel Neighboring, which they're not really going to be doing because of Imperial Rest Order, but it's just basically a Ghhhk, which is great. 1, I Have You Now, so Emperor can use I Have You Now, which you can also pull off of Crush the Rebellion and cycle back with your objective, or he can add Battle Destiny if he gets into a battle. 1 Barrier, just to stop things. Jabba's through with you. If your bounty hunter just fired a weapon during a battle, you can add 1 Battle Destiny. So that works on Boba Fett, Dengar, Forlam, IG-88, and Snoova, because they're all bounty hunters if Snoova has Vibro Axe. So they're all going to be adding multiple destinies. IG-88 adds another Battle Destiny if he's with a bounty hunter. And since you can basically stack your deck or always know where all of your cards are, because you're able to look at your force pile and then use cards to track everything that you have activated as you use it, you should always be able to draw pretty high battle destinies. Like, you could set it up where you could say, all right, I have a 6, 5 cards down, so I'm going to spend 5 force to play Boba Fett. Then I'm going to use then I'm going to cycle some other card like a Force Lightning. Now I have a 6 and a 5 together, and then next turn I'll be able to battle and have really high destiny. Main course cancels frozen assets, which this is a list really for like live constructed play where frozen assets is not coded on GIMP, but frozen assets is a huge part of the metagame. Frozen assets draw their fire. So this just cancels frozen assets. And it's immune to sense, so they can't do anything about it. Online, you have the lost function. So if an opponent has a rebel and an alien in a battle together, you can draw destiny and subtract that from opponent's total attrition and power. So that goes back to the way of you can protect Prince Xizor. If he's with Guri, then they can't draw more than one destiny. They're both immune to attrition less than 5. Then you can reduce their attrition against you by 5 or 6, and then they're just never going to kill them. O switch off cancels the targeting of a droid, which is Forlom, Guri, and Ig. So like if they try to target you with Obi-Wan with lightsaber, or Luke with lightsaber, or a fallen portal or something, you can just cancel it. And if they target you with fallen portal is lost. It doesn't go to your use pile. You have projective telepathy, cancels anger, fear, aggression, which sometimes gets used, but it's more for the force denial strategy with like the force choke, because you don't give them any icons, and broken concentration. They just have to pay 2 force to force drain or initiate a battle. Sometimes you can just cancel the battle because they can't pay, and then your turn you can just pile on them and blow them out. Put all sections on alert is a used 6, so you can target a rebel at a Death Star site for the remainder of the turn. They can't apply their ability towards drawing battle destiny, and their game text is canceled, which is why you have the Death Star docking bay. So you can just drop like Xizor there, and if they try to come down with Obi-Wan with lightsaber to kill them, you can just put all sections on alert to Obi-Wan and stop them from using his game text and drawing a battle destiny, and then Xizor just kills them, or the Emperor, or anybody that's there. 1 copy of Sense, because you're probably going to have an Emperor out, and so it's always good to just have at least 1 copy of Sense. There's a bunch of cards that you would want to cancel, even if they have a there is no try, do or do not combo, and you'd have to lose the Sense and 2 force. Sometimes it's worth it. And randomly, you can just uncertain is the future, and each player places their hand in the reserve deck, and then the reserve deck and use pile together, shuffle, and then draw that many new cards if you just need to reset your hand. And then 2 copies of Twi'lek Advisor. 1, it's a used 5, so you can, again, track it, but you have a ton of effects. Even with starting 3, you still have an additional, 11 effects or something like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh yeah, 11 more effects. And all of the effects are really good. So you just want to be able to pull them out. Your ships, you have Boba Fett, Bossk, and Zuckuss, and then you have Stinger. You can play Guri on there as a permanent pilot, and she deploys for free if she's deploying on there, so that saves you 6 force for her deploy cost. And then when Guri's piloting, you add 1 battle destiny, and it's immune to attrition less than 5. So you have that and Bossk. Now you can, add 2 battle destiny. That and Zuckuss with Forlom, you're getting 3 battle destiny, and your total battle destiny is going to be plus because of your objective and stuff. So basically, with this deck, you just force choke your opponent. If they ever are able to deploy, you can just go kill them. And if they can't deploy, they just sit there and take drains off of, Vigo adding to drains, presence of the force, and then ping damage off of Agents of the Black Sun. It's really not a fun deck to play against. It's super broken, and if you have any ability at tracking, you will know where every card in your deck is after like 3 turns. And then you can just track your entire deck, all 50 cards that are left for the rest of the game. It's just kind of dumb.
Well, I learned a lot. I mean, I will say that the flip side is one of my favorite images in the game. Like Guri throwing a chair, right? It's kind of great.
I like Darth Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith. I think that's
okay. That's like that's a common, like that's a lame take.
All right, fine. Captain Han Solo.
Okay, these are just fanboy takes. I want a random droid throwing a chair that doesn't even exist in the universe anymore. Right. So
Exactly. So there you go. There's a Dark Surgeon deck.
Dark Surgeon. I forgot that's what it was called.
Yep.
All right. Well, love to hear people's thoughts. I also, we were trying to brainstorm more deck ideas. If people have requests that we haven't done, we're happy to think about it. So if you've made it to this point, this is your chance to put a request in the comments. But that's all the time we got for today. We're going to go film another video on a different topic right now.
All right. Sounds good. Have a good one.
We'll catch everybody later.